I think for me, one of the most important things in the creative process, and probably for a lot of you out there, is just having the most amount of time possible to get things done. We all have things that get in the way of getting creative things done. And so for me, I'm always looking for tools that help that. And one thing that I do love about the creative process is color grading, but it also can be one of the most time-consuming parts of the process.
One of the tools I've been interested in for a long time is a film emulation plugin to obviously speed up that color grading workflow and to maybe provide some looks that I wouldn't be able to achieve on my own. But I just never really pulled the trigger on it because I kind of just thought that I didn't need it. I thought it was unnecessary. But today, we're lucky enough to be able to try out a product that I've been curious about for a long time. And Dehancer was nice enough to reach out to me and see if I wanted to make a review of their product. I'm not sponsored by them. This video is not sponsored. I'm not getting paid in any way. They did give me the product on a free trial so I could make this review and just see if I liked it or not. Kind of that was the way that I was approached, is see if you like it. If you want to make a review, go ahead. And so that's what we're looking at today, because spoiler alert, I did end up liking the product, and I do think it's beneficial and useful for you guys. So let's pull up DaVinci and let's kind of see what you can do with this thing. Okay, so I've got DaVinci pulled up, and I want to look at a couple of clips that I took in a recent trip that I took to Seattle. First thing I want to go over is just how easy the installation process is for this. When you're in the color window here in DaVinci, you have your node tree, right? And then if you pull up effects, it's just going to end up being at the very bottom as a plugin, a film emulation plugin. So you can literally just take this and drop it onto any one of your nodes. And it's as simple as that. It gives you all the editing tools right there. So here's just a clip with a color space transform. So that's basically what the naked eye is going to see. And then here's a quick little look that I was able to build with Dehancer in just a matter of a couple minutes. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is being able to have that versatility of, if I want to get super in the weeds about this, like if I was making a short film, which I've been known to do time to time, I would probably use this and really try to dive into all the different settings. But if you want to just post some videos on social media, or get a quick look out there if you're kind of scouting an area or something like that, it's super simple to do so. Let's start with our base clip right here, and then we'll build that look that I just built. So if we go and make a couple other nodes, I like to build a couple of them, even if I'm not going to use them for whatever reason. We'll come all the way down here, grab our Dehancer, plug it into our node, and the first thing you're going to see is it's going to look off. That's okay. We're going to build the look. It's nothing to worry about. The first thing I would do is come and choose your camera. Now they have a bunch of different camera options, and within those they have a bunch of different camera models for those brands as well, so that's super good to see. They don't have obviously everything, but like you have your main kind of prosumer ones, your Canons, your Nikons, your Panasonics, your Sonys, Blackmagics, and then they even have like Aris and Reds for bigger projects as well. So we're obviously going to choose our Panasonic. Now they don't have an exact match for the S9, which is what I was shooting on, but it's the same sensor as S5 II, so we're going to use that, and then we're going to go to Vlog. So by default, it's already got a look on there. You can see we can disable that. It already picks a look for you. But what I ended up liking is this Kodak Vision 3. But let's say you don't like that one. They have a ton, as you can see, a lot of classic looks, cine stills, Fuji colors, a lot of Kodak ones. They have a lot of them built in here that are some of the most popular ones. Now, one of the gripes I would like to see is maybe just expanding that library as much as possible. Get some maybe ARRI emulations, anything that they can do with just providing as many looks to the user as possible, I think would be great. But we're going to start with this Kodak Vision look. So before going in and building that look, I'm going to show you quickly all the different options that you have to use to build that out, and then we'll go and build the look and show you just how quickly we can do that. So similarly to if you've ever used Premiere or Lightroom or any Adobe products that like to use the slider style of color grading, you have all your sliders, and you have your kind of basic exposure ones here, your exposure, temperature, tint, then you have difference, radius. And then come down here a little bit more, obviously you have your look that you pick, that kind of is the main starting point for that. Contrast boost, gamma correction, color separation, color boost. I really like to see how much control you have within the actual software. That was something I was worried about, was you know, maybe you'll be able to just pick your look and have a couple sliders here and there, and you're kind of stuck with that. No, that's not the case. Now here's two of the big ones that I think a lot of people are trying to achieve just with the stock features in DaVinci, that it doesn't quite look right all the time when you use DaVinci's stock features. But halation and bloom, two of those really big elements that you see to getting that cinema look on social media, especially. People really like to go heavy with the halation and bloom, but they're both in there. And I think so far what I've seen is you can use those tastefully. Then you have your vignettes control and everything. And then if you come all the way down here, you have your total impact slider, which I think is really cool. So if we take this all the way down, you can see it starts to change. And now if we take it all the way down, we're back to our basic look with just the Rec 709 transformation on our CST. And then slide it more, we get to kind of build that look out. But so let's try to build this look that I have here just by making a couple quick tweaks. So first thing is, I'm gonna take this down and take it down to about 50, because I never really wanna have the full look, because to me, it looks a little bit heavy, but I still want that kind of that film look to be provided as well. So the first thing I see, we have a lot of exposure here in the clouds. We have some good exposure being captured in the image with the settings that we already used. But if I want to bring that down a little bit more and just provide a little bit more of those clouds, I can do so. I can also boost that, but I'm going to find this kind of sweet spot right here. I also think my temperature is maybe a little bit off for me. I like things to be a little bit more golden, so I'm going to bring that up just a little bit more. I think that kind of also provides a little bit more of that traditional film look. Tint, I think we're pretty close to good on that. I wouldn't really bring in too much green or purple, or magenta, but for me, I do like to lean a little bit more towards the teal side, so I'm going to put a little bit of that in, and then come down here. And I think for me, I want to get a little bit more richness in this, so I'm going to put a little bit more of this black point in and start to bring in a little bit more of those shadows and give that some boost. And then we're going to come down here, and for me, I don't love when the image has a ton of grain. I like the grain to be a little bit more tasteful, and so I'm going to actually come in here and drop this down just to about 20, because if we bring it all the way up, if you look especially in the darker areas, you can even see in the water, there's just a ton of grain. So I like to just be a little bit of grain in there, so we'll bring it to about 20. And then let's enable some halation. I'm just going to drop it down to about 30 and just get kind of a general look. But the halation, you're not going to see as much. You're going to kind of more see it in this building here. But the bloom, you definitely see. If we bring that all the way down and then bring that all the way up, you definitely see the bloom in those clouds and those highlights. So I, again, kind of like to be more tasteful. So I'll bring it around 20. And then if we scroll down all the way down here to our total impact, so now that I've built more of that image out, I'm gonna come down and we can do our impact slider and see just how much we can bring in. So like if we wanted to go all the way, that's a really drastic difference from what we originally started with just the CST transform. For me, I kind of like it to be maybe more around this like 60 range, where we can definitely see, like if we turn off this node, you can definitely see the amount of impact that makes for our look. Like this is kind of just the naked eye as the colors are seen. But then if you turn that back on, like we've definitely built a look. And for me, that's one of the biggest things that I like about this plugin, is that didn't take any time at all. And I was kind of explaining things as well. Something that I really like about this is, and maybe we'll even take this one, what you can do is very simply copy that and paste it on all of our different clips that we have loaded up here. So now we have a really unified look between all of these different clips, and then we can go in and obviously tweak them a little bit if we want to, but like all these different clips are now going to be matching. And I like how quickly you can do that with the Dehancer plugin, being able to just build that world for whatever you're working on, whatever the project is you're working on. Okay, now let's look at one more shot, because all the previous shots that I've shown you were all shot in log, so they should be able to handle the color and the plugin really well, because there's so much dynamic range to use. But I wanted to really push this thing as far as I could to see if you know, maybe you don't have a super high level camera, but you still want to try to get a film look. So right now we have this DJI clip that I got off of the Osmo Pocket 3. My wife was shooting with the Pocket 3 while we were in Seattle, while I was shooting with my big camera. And so this is obviously just shot in standard. It's not shot in log. It already has the color baked into it. Anytime you're not shooting in log, you're going to kind of already be compressing the amount of color that you're going to be able to use. So I wanted to try this out and see how much we could do with this without, you know, obviously getting to the breaking point of these colors. So let's go ahead and get ourselves a new node. And what we're going to do is we're going to slap this grade that we did on top of this one. We're obviously going to get rid of our CST and then come over to Dehancer and change this from our Panasonic camera to they do have DJI, which I do like to see, our Pocket 3. And that wasn't shot in log, so I'm just going to do deselect. So you can see here, it's not taking that look too bad. If we zoom in a ton, we can see in some of these areas, like in these blues right here, it's actually handling it pretty well. It is giving it a nice image. And this image, there's a lot of color obviously to the image, but it isn't the most pleasing image because, you know, we obviously have some of these, so much of it's being taken by the highlights in the sky and stuff. But if we if we move it to where now we got my ugly mug and we got some skin tones going on, you can see, look how nice that brings those skin tones into kind of a warmer place and gives it a lot more of a natural look. Like the DJI standard look is really, really washed out, and like a lot of the life in the skin tones is lost because of that. And I think that that's a workable image. Like I think if this was your, like that, adding the Dehancer on top of the DJI image almost starts to make it look a little bit more professional, like a higher end camera shot this. So I think that's really cool to see that. You know, we weren't using a log image here. We were using a standard profile on a DJI Osmo Pocket, a smaller camera, a really affordable camera, and we're still able to get a really cool look out of it. So I think that's a big plus in Dehancer's, in the pros column for Dehancer, that you don't have to use like super high-end cameras to be able to use this plugin and get some good looks out of it. So those are all kind of the video features that you can use. I want to pull up Lightroom now and show you just how much you can do with photos as well, because that's something I haven't seen talked about in a lot of these reviews, and something that I wasn't expecting, to be honest. I wasn't expecting to be able to have as much capability in Lightroom too. So let's pull up Lightroom and let's go to some of the recent photos that I took in Seattle and see what we can build with that. Okay, we got Lightroom pulled up, and again, I want to show you kind of a before and after of a photo that I took in Seattle. I'm really happy with the composition and how this photo turned out. So again, super easy setup process. I'm not going to show you, but they have instructions to do all that. You just go to Edit in, Dehancer Lightroom plugin. It'll pull up this little pop-up, say, yep, open a Dehancer. You don't have to worry about this because it's going to pull up our Dehancer photo editor here. Let's just, instead of kind of reverse engineering, I'll just show you just how little I've done to go from this to this. Like, no joke, it took me a couple minutes. So I have just a little bit of exposure compensation going on. Came down here. I added some film compression because I thought that without it, you can see the difference that it makes. Just bringing in a lot more of that highlights, kind of bringing them more close to the rest of the image. Just add a little bit more black point. Again, as you saw with the videos, I like to have a little bit more of that richness in. Put in just a little bit of black print. Added in almost nothing. That might have been on by default. Came in, obviously tweaked in our film grain. Now this one with photos, I do kind of lean into the film grain a little bit more. As you can see, like throughout the whole image, even in the highlights, mid-tone shadows, everything has a decent amount of grain in it. But let's say you don't want that, you drop that all the way down to nothing, and now you can just bring in just a little bit if you wanted to. But for me, I was actually okay with bringing in a little bit more of that film grain, so we're going to take that to what it was. And then here, our shadows, resolution, midtones, you can put in the amount of film grain that you want. So for me, I put in a little bit more in the midtones because I thought that's what needed. And then again, halation and bloom, one of the big things that probably is going to draw people to this product in general, because as you can see here, our halation, like look at that sign especially, and then around their heads, kind of in this area. I need to stop pointing at the screen and use my mouse. Around their heads and the sign especially, where we have those highlights really coming through, just adds such a cool character to the image and really does give it that film look. And then bloom again, just in our highlights, giving it that more of that dreamy, glowy look. And then vignette, added in just a very subtle vignette because the photo already has kind of a natural vignette with the lens that I was using. And then so you do all that, and then for photos, our impact slider is actually at the top, whereas videos is at the bottom. But for photos, you can see how much that changes that. But again, turning it on and off, I love that they have this feature similar to Lightroom. You can see just how much of an impact that made on this photo. So then we just push OK, and that'll take us back to Lightroom and finish, and then it produces like another image as a duplicate on top of the one that you just edited. So yeah, I really love that you're able to build these looks even with photos and get some really cool results and not spend a lot of time. Those are like the biggest pros for me. So the last thing I want to talk about is I do have an iOS app that you can use if you don't want to spend as much time on the desktop and you want to just build some quick looks. So let's hop over there and see where I was able to use the iOS app and kind of the pros and cons of using that. It is obviously somewhat limited, but let's hop over there and then we'll go over the pros and cons and we'll wrap this thing up.
Okay, so let me show you guys how quick and easy it is to use the Dehancer iOS app and what you can do with it. So if we pull up our photo project here, I'm just going to do a new project. I've already loaded a couple examples that we can use because I don't want to show you guys my whole camera roll, obviously. So let's just start with this skateboarding one, and then you just select right there. And then as you can see, similarly to what we have set up in Lightroom, we have all these different essentially like looks more or less. So we're going to select that one, and then right here at the top, if we select lab, that now takes us over into additional settings things. So you don't have to go with just that look that they give you. You can customize it from there. So it gives you a couple basic options, just your exposure, temperature, contrast, that kind of stuff. But if we want to go click on the advanced tab, then that gives us everything else that we would have through the Lightroom app as well. And then if I'm happy with that, all you have to do from there is just come up here to the top and select export, and it exports it directly to your camera roll. You don't have to do anything else. So just once you kind of give it access to either your full camera roll or select photos, it'll export your looks right away. So like without explaining that in a tutorial, that would probably take 30 seconds after you get done with the shoot. If you can put the stuff on your phone and then run it through the iOS app, super quick. And you can also use the iOS app as a standalone product. Like you don't have to use the rest of the DaVinci or Lightroom. If you want to just go with the iOS app, they do have the option to do that as well. Okay, so that leads us into our pros and cons. I told you I'd give you an honest review, so even though I already kind of spoiled it and said that this product really impressed me and I really liked it, there are some cons about it, obviously. So just to quickly go through some of the pros that we've talked about in this video, the workflow I think is really good. I think the way that it integrates with DaVinci especially, and I'm sure it integrates relatively well with Final Cut and Premiere as well, but the way that it integrates with DaVinci, being able to just add this to a node and then have all your options within that just gives you so much control, gives you so much flexibility. I think the workflow makes it really easy to get in there, get the look that you want and not spend too much time. So I think that's a huge pro. I think the iOS app is somewhat of a pro, even though that it's not that robust. I think the ability to just take some social media content, for example, and run it through Dehancer, give it a film look, and push it out the other side and have a look that you can post on social media, and it has that filmic look to it, but you didn't have to go spend a bunch of time doing grading, I think is a pro if you want to use it through that application. But that leads us directly into our cons. I think the biggest con for me is probably the pricing, because the quality of the product is so high, and I do think that it's worth the money that you pay for it, but pricing starts out at $99 a month for the studio version, which is the one that I was using that gives you the photo and video and iOS all bundled into one. $99 a month is pricey. If you're running a business, I think that it's easily justifiable. I think that if you're running a business, this should just be a no-brainer for you to add to your workflow, add to your toolkit, right? But if you're just a solo creator, somebody who does this for maybe just a hobby, it's hard to justify that $99 price point. They do have an annual version a lifetime membership that you can get. The lifetime product for any of your video editors, it's going to be $899 for the individual, or the studio version, you pay a $2,000 one-time fee. So I think honestly, if we're looking at it that way, it is pricey, and I don't know if that for everyone that is a realistic option. But the quality, again, I want to stress the quality of the product. I don't think that the quality of the product is less than what you would pay for it. It is just kind of a high price point for a lot of people probably. And then slightly a con with the iOS app in general is that it just is really like basic, and you can definitely get the job done, but it would be cool to see a better workflow added within the iOS app as well. And the last thing I'll say about this is maybe I think the direction that Dehancer could go, that I would think for me it would justify the price a lot more, and it would just add to the overall experience a lot more, is if they head in a direction where they could build some sort of standalone app. I think would be phenomenal. Like if they tried to do the DaVinci model, where DaVinci now in the new beta that they just released, they're adding a photo editor in it as well. So now you have like the best video editor plus photo editor possible. If they give you the ability to like take your image and run it through Dehancer, like you can essentially have like a cloud-based service or something like that, where you have all your images, you pull them into Dehancer, similarly to the iOS app, kind of that same experience, and you push them out the other side. Like if this was your one-stop shop for color grading for all your photos and videos, I think that would be really beneficial. Again, that's not necessarily cons, just something that I think that would be cool if they could produce. But overall, like I said, just a really, really solid experience using this product. It impressed me a lot. It surprised me in some ways, and I would definitely recommend it. Again, depending on your budget, don't go spending money that you don't have. But if you have the money to spend on something like this, especially if you run a business, I think it's definitely worth it. You're going to get some great images out of this, and almost most importantly, like you're going to really enjoy using it, and you're going to get a lot of satisfaction out of the photos and videos that you can get from it. So I just want to say thanks to Dehancer for letting me try this product out. It's something I'm going to continue to use for years to come, because I just think it adds to the experience so much, and it shortens that workflow, and it gives you some really, really high quality images. So
also, Dehancer's been nice enough to give us a 10% discount code. So if you use the code RenshawFilms using the link below, you'll get 10% off. I do receive some commission for it, but that doesn't change the price that you pay. You can save a little bit of money with that if you are interested in picking up any of their products. This includes the monthly mobile version as well. Any of the products, 10% off. Use the code RenshawFilms.
Thanks for watching this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one for some other kind of photo and video related topic. So, all right, catch you guys later. Bye.